Okay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of Maximum Octane. We are here filming live from the Hyatt Regency in Orlando. So you'll be hearing that intro quite a bit because we have quite a few podcasts booked up. And joining me today is my co-host, Mr. Jason Patel. And then we have a wonderful guest with us today, Mr. David Wostarek from Northwest Import Sync in Austin, Texas. And I have been butchering David's name for how many years now?
Oh, I don't know, a decade or so.
About a decade or so. And I'll write it down phonetically and I do whatever, but
No, you do fine.
It is what it is. And so David's journey is a wonderful one and very common with a lot of entrepreneurs and shop owners I have this idea. I'm very passionate about the industry. I want to help people. I want to give back to the community. I want to donate money to my church. I want to be able to do all these things, but somehow at the end of the day, you have to start running a profitable business to be able to do that, right? And
yes.
in the beginning, and if you don't mind us chatting a minute, you were like against making a profit because you just wanted to give back.
Well, I wouldn't say I was against making a profit. I just had this.
I was on the other end of the calls. So
Wait. So let me get this right. You were his coach.
She was my coach, yes, originally.
Oh, that's got to be rough. That could be
man.
a podcast on its own.
Yeah, it could be. That was a lot of fun, you know. Right. I mean, she's trying to get me to change things and stuff like that. And I think one of the biggest things I've heard from a lot of shop owners is they come in here and you guys have all these great ideas and they're going, oh, that'll never work at my shop. You know, I mean, how often do you guys hear that? Like probably daily?
Yeah.
If not
every
multiple times a day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Even with some of the tenured members, it's still like, a new idea. I don't think this is a member related thing. It's anybody in any position.
Mm-hmm.
If you bring a new idea, it's always going to be met with some kind of resistance unless they're open and they're having ideas like that themselves. That's the only time you don't run into that resistance.
That's probably true. I mean, like Kim said, I wasn't just giving away. I mean, we give money to the church. We give more now than we ever did because I've got more to give away.
Right.
But, I was giving away too much, like from a standpoint on the customers, not charging a fair amount, because I was like, oh man, it's also, by the way, if anybody listening to this, if you're an owner and you're at the front counter, get away from there. Mm-hmm. Hire some people that you can tell this is what I need you to charge, and you don't discount things other than whatever. Like if we got a special we're running, or like we do the rewards points thing, so they build up. Those are good. You can give those away. But otherwise, you just don't discount things. I mean, there's a rare occasion you get somebody that comes in and it's like, it's been a regular customer and now they're a little bit on hard times and you just go, okay, and we got to take care of them a little bit. But that can't be your normal operating.
Right. That has to
system.
be the exception.
Yeah, that has to be
and when you're running things
exception,
properly and charging properly for what you need, then you have the accounts and the ability to do things like that. And I think there's this misconception that to be profitable, you have to go in and raise your labor rate $100, and you have to, a customer looks at you, you have to charge them, for blinking, and it's not. And it's so much just internal and fixing little things inside, of things, and have a process. And we're not doing anybody any favors when we're not charging properly. And when you're trying to charge what the person next door is charging or down the street, you have to look at your building, your staff, the benefits that you provide, and decide what do you need to charge to do that for your people, because you have to, and it's not a bad thing. And you have a huge heart like many of our members do, and you want to help everybody, but the way to help everybody is to make sure you're in a strong position yourself. And it's just like all the comparisons
like
to
the plane, right?
The plane, right? You got to take care of yourself first. You got to put the oxygen first, and then you can help other people, right? And
that is so true.
Very invested in the youth of America, and we had talked about, and I don't know if we ever did anything with it, but let's get this going to a spot where you can start taking trainees and doing something.
I have dabbled with that. I haven't done very good on the trainee thing. I just and part of that is that's still a work in process.
Okay.
I would like to get to be able to do more training. You know, if you'll remember when you and I first started having the conversations, I wanted to actually try to be able to build something up where I could have a separate nonprofit.
Right.
And I haven't quite gotten there, guys. That's still a dream down the road.
But what a wonderful dream, right? And to still have that's your end goal. And that's so important too, is what is your end goal? I think we get into this in this business, a lot of us, because we worked somewhere, we saw something like we can do it better. We can treat our people better. We can treat the internal customers, the external customers, but we don't have a plan past that.
Right.
We have knowledge, we have skills, whatever the area the shop it is. And we're like, how hard could it be? You know, the person that I'm working for is an idiot. Surely I can do better than that. And then you're like, let me just open the door, you know?
At some point you become the idiot.
You become the idiot because you're just repeating kind of what they did and the other people you worked for before you. But you have to have that dream and that passion to keep going, because when it gets tough, you need that North Star. You need that compass to say, here's my goal. This is where I want to get to. This is whether it's giving back, whether it's opening more stores, whether it's working a day a week, 2 days a week. If you don't have that and that prize, that eye on the prize that you're looking at, it makes it a lot harder.
And it has to keep moving. It can't be stagnant, right? Because
you
are going to achieve whatever you set your mind to. You're going to achieve it one way or another. And once you get closer and closer to that,
if you set your mind to it,
exactly,
you have and you have to have that. How would you put it? You just have to be able to stick with it, you know. And what would you call it though? Just the fortitude, because you know even when you're trying to, how would you put it? Probably especially when you're trying to put things on the right footing and get to that point where you're having to re-educate the people that work for you and go, okay, this is how we're going to do it here. You know, you're gonna have a lot of times where there's gonna be a lot of pushback. There's gonna be, you know, and you know, you just got to finally go. It's like, hey, this is the way we have to do it. Again, it's more ideal probably is if you can get the buy-in. And man, I tell you what, that is one of those that I still struggle with, is like, how do you get people to buy in? Because, you know, it's some of that does require a little bit of, I think, you know, we've talked about this before with the trading players and all that kind of stuff. I am not the kind of guy who likes to get rid of anybody.
Yeah.
But, you know, the bottom line, because I love people.
Right.
You know, and it's like, so I really, if you come to work for me, I'm not hiring you with the intention of like, okay, you'll work for now and I'm going to replace you. I want you to come online and I'm going to build you up. But, you know, there's times when you just have to draw that line and go, okay, this is not working. You are not getting what we're trying to accomplish here. And, you know, one of the hardest parts of that is to get it to come across properly that, okay, so yes, we are here for a profit. We have to charge this much to do this service. I know that might be more than what the dealer down the street is charging, but don't you believe you're better? And if you can't get them to have the buy-in to believe that they're better and that we can do a better job than a dealer does or something like that, you know, well, you know, they may just not work out.
Right. They might not be a right fit. I love when you said about retraining people. One of the things we see a lot is the hiring somebody or hiring a tech, hiring a service provider, whatever it is. And it's like, what's the training? What's the onboarding? Where are they learning all? Oh no, I don't have to do any of that. You know, they've been doing it for 20 years, 10 years, whatever it is, right? But
that's the most dangerous.
That's the most dangerous thing. And the analogy I always use, I don't know if you remember, but I know they've heard on the podcast, is singing. I've been singing for 50 something years and I am worse now than 50 years ago. So because you do something for 50 years, 20 years, 10 years, doesn't mean you're doing it well, right?
No.
And we're setting them up for failure when we don't say, these are the expectations. There's two things people need to know is, how am I doing? What's next? We can't tell them either of those things if we don't set the expectation and say, I understand that you've been doing this for 20 years. And part of the reason we're hiring you and bringing you into our family is because of your experience and the knowledge and all of that. Mm-hmm. But we have a way we do things here, and it's a little bit different than anywhere else. And it would be a disservice to not tell you how we do things here and not set the expectations and just assume that you're going to do it the way we are. And I've had people actually say, I'm not going to go and tell a technician of 20 years how to, do a DVI or a tire rotation. And it's like, how could you not?
Right.
How could you not? And what if they do it different? And they said it's insulting. It's insulting to tell somebody of 20 years how to do something. And I'm like, how is that insult? I'd be more insulted is if you wound up letting me go because you wanted me to live up to this magic thing that you didn't bother to tell me.
That would be worse, yes.
Right, because you don't want to hurt my feelings, and you can set that up in the interview too and say, listen, we know you're amazing, so we want you, but everybody comes in with the same onboarding. We have to set the expectations. And if somebody doesn't want that and they say, I don't need you,
they're not the right fit.
Whatever, then they don't need to come aboard.
Well, I do want to bring something up before we get too far ahead on this, right? One of the things, the baseline here is, first, you have to have a good business model, right? And by model, I mean, what do we stand for, right? So this goes back to mission, vision, values. And this is, even if you're a one-person business, this is where you start. This is from the ground up, right? You want to set that. Now, for all those that are listening, whether you're automotive or you're in a different business entirely, let's figure that out first, right? What is, kind of going back to what we talked about at the beginning, what is the goal here? And then the other thing I want people to consider is, we are all in the service-based business, as we've said before. We're also all selling our time, right? Whether you're selling your time to your customer, you're selling your time to your internal customers, your employees, or just your own time itself. So what is the value of that time? And this is where we have to figure out, where do you fit in the best? So I know you and I, we were talking about this kind of before we started recording. You're very passionate about customer service.
Yes. I mean, to me, we take care of people. I mean, sure, we fix cars, but the truth is we take care of people. And that's like, Kim alluded to it with the internal and external customer. I mean, let's face it, your team, you have to, when you're hiring them, you have to think about, this is an internal customer. And how am I going to treat that customer? Because I want to treat him in a well enough that he's going to be able to take that out to the people that he's taking care of and representing me. Because I can't make that guy at the front counter me. I can't make that guy under the hood me, but I can treat them how I want them to treat my customers and have them carry that forward. So, really, again, it's all a people relation type business. We talk about building culture. What is your culture? Now, I got to admit, I got some problems in mind that we got to fix, but it's, you try to, I get, as I said earlier, I have this hard time letting go of people. So I do everything I can. You can't make, it's like they say, you can't lead, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But when you're running a business, eventually you've got to make that to that point of, okay, so this guy is not going to buy into what we really have to do here, and that customer service thing is the number one thing, really, because Kim probably remembers this. I used to be a shop foreman in a Porsche Audi dealer before I did this. And one of the things that drove me the most nuts, I was being the shop foreman, I got to deal with the customer complaints and things like that. And there were so many times I felt like I had my hands tied, where I've got somebody that bought a nice car from us and they are having a problem. My technicians that unfortunately I was responsible for weren't necessarily getting the thing fixed, but part of the problem was the communication breakdown at times. And so I had to step in and be the communicator between the customer and the technicians and everything to get it done, taken care of. But there were so many times my hands were tied on getting it done right. And what really would tick me off, I remember this one kind of vividly, was a lady that had bought a Porsche 928, which was the flagship back then. And, she's had this car in with this problem with the climate control on it. And, I just remember talking to her about it. And I'm like, this is your fourth visit on this same problem. Why was this information not conveyed properly? Where was the breakdown?
Right.
And it was just frustrating me, because it was like, okay, so the dealer wasn't that big back then. We should have been able to take care of this. If we missed it on the first visit, we should, probably the second visit, 4 times. This is ridiculous, So yeah, and there was also, being a shop foreman there was the pressure from up on top. They were more concerned about the numbers and everything like that, and not as much about the people. And that kind of wore on me. And that's what spurred me on to do my own business.
And that I'm so glad you shared that, because if you take care of the people, the numbers follow. You just
always.
If you just do it in that order, take care of your people, the numbers will follow.
But again, there's a certain point you have to remember that I take care of the people. That was my problem, especially being at the front counter, is to me, part of that taking care of the people is like, oh, they look like they need a break. And, then you're just like that person with that oxygen mask. You can't give everybody a break, because it's like suddenly the person that's getting squeezed is you. And as you're squeezing yourself, you're squeezing those internal employees there, your team. And it's like, you just can't do that.
Well, that's where processes are so important too, because if you are servicing your people correctly, and you're letting them know what kind of maintenance, what kind of repair, what things are coming up, and we're properly maintaining the vehicles for them, we're telling them everything that could happen, what's coming up, then they can budget, and then they can, there's always going to be an exception that something weird broke, but most of the time, today's cars, if a vehicle's properly maintained, we don't have those, breakdowns. And the days of when I first opened my shop and you pulled in on a Monday morning and there were 10 cars in there that the tow company dropped off because they broke down over it doesn't happen.
You don't see that anymore.
Right, it doesn't happen.
We're not doing breakdowns. We're doing services.
Right. So if you have all these customers that are coming in with broken stuff that they don't have the money for, that's on us.
Right.
And we have to look at that, because we failed to convey to them the importance of maintaining their vehicle properly, to set up the services and the maintenance, and work with them on alternative financing or budgeting of, okay, I understand you have this much. Let's take care of this most important, and then we'll take care of this next month. And here's what's going to be coming up in 6 months. Here's what's going to be that's on us. If somebody's breaking down now and having that's we really have to look at us and our systems, our follow-up, our processes. And if we really care that our customers and the people the way we say we do, that's part of it. And again, the excuses of, I don't want to bother them, or I didn't want to tell them everything that's wrong with the car because I might get a bad Google review, or I didn't want to some of that stuff makes me crazy.
Oh yeah, that kind of stuff is like you have to present a clear picture for them, because the more, on our website, one of the things that I push is clarity, because it's like, if you can't give that customer a clear picture of what condition their car's in, what the pathway to maintaining it is, how are they supposed to be able to depend on that transportation?
Right.
And, when you're talking about the cars getting towed in, there's those occasional flaky breakdowns, but the truth is that most of the time we can prevent that stuff, because if we're maintaining the car for them and looking at things in advance, we can spot that oil leak that's going to lead to some other problem, or that coolant leak where it's like, hey, this isn't very bad right now, but, if we don't take care of this, you could end up on the side of the road, that kind of stuff. Belts. There's just so much. Most of it is the basic maintenance.
I do want to build off of something, we've been talking a lot about taking care of people, right? Whether it's internal or external. Now, there is a method to taking care of your people and still setting guardrails, right? So the guardrails are equally as important. And this is where the numbers come into play. We're talking about, you don't want to have the numbers dictate everything. And we're talking about how if you're taking care of people, the numbers are going to follow. We still have to figure out what are those numbers that we want to hit, right? And a lot of this comes down to calculating, and it goes right back to we're selling time. So calculating it is fairly straightforward. It's not rocket science, but you can figure out what labor rate you need, whatever business you're in. If you're, doing some sort of service, or even products for that matter, if you're selling products, there's still time involved in products, right? Whether it's the way that it's being developed, the way that's being marketed, all this stuff, we have to figure out a way to calculate it. Now, with that being said, I have to slip this in, because this is kind of every podcast has to have this in there. If it's not really a podcast anymore. AI, right? So once again, this is where we utilize the tools. And we have to figure out what is available for us to make this happen, to help better take care of our people. So for example, right, we're talking about services. We're talking about making sure that we're preventing breakdowns. We're not doing courtesy inspections. We're doing vehicle health reports.
Right.
We're not doing oil changes. We're doing oil services. all of this stuff, we have to make sure that, and it's not just a fancy marketing thing. It has to be a well-curated thing for your customer base. Mm-hmm. So going back to how we utilize AI and stuff like this, AI is a buzzword. Let's be honest here. But with that being said, we can create assistants.
The chat thing.
Right. Well,
I love when they're like, can you put it in that chat thing and tell me?
Right.
I love
or chat GPT.
Yeah,
like, what is that? I've not heard that one yet. But how are we utilizing the tools that we have? What kind of systems are we putting in place for our internal customers and our external customers and making it easier for them? So with the vehicle health report, for example.
Oh, that's a biggie right there.
Right.
I mean, nowadays your DVIs have, the newer ones anyway, have options where the AI will take over. Oh boy, does that save you some time.
Right.
And I haven't had a chance to really get a good look at some of these AI estimators. I am kind of curious about that because that's, the things you spend the most time on if you're a service advisor are going to be correcting the notes the technician put in there. Because let's face it, technicians out there,
he just wants to right now.
Yeah, he just wants to get the information on there. And some of that information, the service advisor knows what that means. But you can't put that out to a customer.
Right. The fuel trims are a little off.
Exactly.
Brakes are 3 millimeters. And
it's like, they have to translate it. But with the AI, it does it, because we've been using AutoVitals for DVIs, and their new AI thing they came out works pretty well. I've also used like Autotech IQs. That one actually works really well too. It's just a little extra work on the service advisor's end to make that connect up. So we just decided to stick with the AutoVitals one for right now. But yeah, those side of things help a lot. And if we can get an estimating one, because that's your next one, you spend so much time building a good estimate, especially like we do mostly European stuff. And any of you guys that know, European a little bit, it's like, you can't just go, oh, it's going to be a water pump. It's going to be, what are all the pipes that I'm going to have to replace, the plastic pieces, all this kind of stuff.
Even hose clamps, for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of specialized stuff that goes in there. Thank you, Europeans, for making it more difficult than for the average person. So that's just good for us.
It's great. Well, I mean, and this is why I'm very biased when it comes to auto repair. I love the Euro side of things, mainly because the perception is already set. For the customer.
Right. They already know the expectation that they're going to spend more on repairs.
When you bought this car, your cousin told you, your parents probably told you, you're going to spend money. Why would you buy this? Why don't you just buy a Corolla? Why don't you buy a Civic?
Yeah.
Like the perception's already set. So now we can it makes it easier on the advisor to just present the facts.
Right. But as long as you get that person that didn't go buy a used BMW,
3 Series,
or a 7 Series. Bought a
7 Series
bought
are the
a
best.
7 Series or an Audi A8 or
they're already mechanically
Mercedes.
totaled before they came in.
Yeah, exactly. This was a $150,000 car. I got this thing for $15,000.
You're still paying for a $150,000 car service.
Exactly. You just go, oh man, I do that too. I had a mailman one time that went and bought a BMW because he's like, man, I really like them, and I thought, okay, this is going to be really, really dependable. And then I'm talking to this poor guy, and he's stretched to buy this used 3 Series, and I'm like, dude, man, this thing, you need a few $1,000s worth of work. And he's like, you talk about the deer in the headlights look on that one.
The best part is when they're upgrading from like a Chevy or a Ford or something, and then they're like, a brake job. What? How much are brakes on this? How much is tire?
The guy that's driven Toyotas and Hondas all of his life, and so they're pretty dependable, and they're not that expensive to fix, especially if you're buying them lower models. And then they buy a BMW or something. Oh boy, knock their socks off.
Well, and
but,
this
is
just
what it is.
We really went off on a tangent on the Euro side.
Yeah, we did. Sorry,
but on top of that's not the case anymore because it's actually the same thing for most of the other makes.
Oh yeah, the other ones are catching up. I mean, that's it's so weird because I look at the dependability that like Toyota and some of these guys
all going down.
Yeah, well, they're going down. But the crazy thing is, I look at it and it's like you guys are copying a lot of what the Europeans did. You're doing it a little better because now you have hindsight to know some of the downfalls. but you're decreasing the dependability on
Right.
your stuff because you just copied all this high-tech stuff here.
Well, they're also partnering up with the Euro,
Oh, yeah.
Euro manufacturer. So
Oh,
it's,
yeah.
it's a double whammy there.
Can we bring up Kias for a minute? I
was going to go there. Kia and Hyundai.
The
So
gal that does the sparkles in my hair, when my regular hair, you can see it, but the fairy hair in my hair. She just bought a Kia and it was cute. It was like, how much is this? And it was like 90. I was like, for a Kia, like
what did you say? 90?
something. It was crazy with all the bells and whistles. And
Oh, it was like a K900 or whatever.
Something.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm not as familiar with
but-
Kias, but it's
but
one of the
90?
nicer models.
by the time everything out the door and the warranty and the extended and the taxes and
That's
all of that.
ridiculous.
And I'm like, for a Kia, and I wanted to be happy and smile for her and say, yay, that's wonderful. But what are you
Goodness.
kidding me? Like how, and I don't think, the warranty, she said, oh, well, it got 100,000
10 year,
warranty.
100,000, right?
It's a powertrain only.
Yeah,
But-
powertrain only. And
but-
they're back ordered on all their powertrains.
The
So.
consumers, they don't
Yeah, I
understand
don't want to knock our Kia on here, but yeah, they're
that a powertrain warranty, right, is so that's again where we have to educate our people. And if
Exactly.
you have people coming in, just for an example with a Kia, that let them know and educate them about the warranty, because they're not going to understand, and then they're going to be blown away when something happens. Because I actually had people tell me, no, I don't have a vehicle maintenance and repair fund because I have a 100,000-mile warranty, and it's like nothing is covered on that. Like, no, you need to still put away. So again, that's where we are able to educate our customers, regardless of what kind of vehicle they have, of here's how much money you need to be putting aside, right, for in a year for maintenance on your vehicle to keep it running properly, right?
But it goes back to that vehicle health report, right? It's taking care of the customer, taking care of your internal customers, taking care of the business. Now, I know we're talking about Kias, Hyundais, and whatnot. Here, I'll throw this out there. So you can still buy relatively cheap Hyundai Elantra, right? You can still buy the economy cars.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the economy cars also have technology now.
Right.
Mhm.
So I'll give you an example. Most of the vehicles that you're going to buy now, doesn't matter what kind of car, it's a digital cluster.
Mhm.
A digital cluster is all electronic. There's no analog stuff on there anymore. So if you go for you can look this up. If you go look for a Hyundai Elantra digital cluster for like a 2023 or 2024, a new digital cluster is $1,400.
Oh yeah, easy peasy.
The car is 19,000 or 20,000. So we're looking at this 5 years from now. Let's say you live in Arizona and it gets like 120, 130 degrees or whatnot. These electronics are going to fail at some point.
Right.
Yeah, there is that potential, and especially I would think, that's the thing that scares me if as far as buying a less expensive car like that, is to make that part, they had to cut some corners
Right.
to get that price down there. And, much as I knock on European cars about some of their
we're in the
stuff.
same boat, though.
Yeah. Wait, oh, yeah. Well, yeah, because that $1,400 cluster on there is going to be about 35, 40,
Right.
and 4,000. It's like, yeah, it's like some of the European stuff is crazy expensive. But again, I will give them this much: the electronics on a lot of those things.
Yeah.
When back in the 80s, when BMW started going to electronics, I was like, oh man,
electronics.
these are going to be disasters. And then I'm looking, it's like,
It's still around.
these things are 10, 15, when they were 10, 15 years old. It's like, well, most of the electronics is still going. It's
Right.
the old mechanical stuff that's wearing out.
Yeah.
And we do with a lot more electronics than we used to. But if you look at the amount that's on the cars, it really hasn't caused a big problem.
Not yet.
Yeah. Well, not yet.
Yeah.
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 Well, that's true. They always keep improving it, don't they?
Yep. Well, it's all
What they
planned
say.
obsolescence.
Like my
Yeah.
Apple iPhone that always starts slowing down.
Oh,
The battery goes
man.
bad right when a new one's coming out.
Right.
All of those stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Or the washer and dryer
they-
goes out 2 days after the warranty
Yep.
ends, like those things.
that's an art form in itself.
Yeah.
It truly is.
I was going to say yes. And phones in particular, when you mentioned phones, I'm like, why is it that this phone is like 2 years old and it's automatically just got to be replaced? It can't go anymore. I'm like,
Hey,
It's crazy.
it's the economy that we live in, right? I mean, this
Yeah.
is one thing that we have to also set that expectation for customers, because at the end of the day, you have to, and we've been talking about this for years, an educated and informed customer is going to buy more.
Right.
And when we talk about buy more, this is not a sales pitch. It's more of it's taking care of them, because now they're going to be able to hold on to that vehicle for longer, or They just have a better anticipation. Like, hey, I'm going to plan on keeping this car for 5 years, but in order for me to keep the car for 5 years, I still have to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do go to sell it, it's going to help keep that resale value or whatnot. And then they can continue moving forward with their life. But this is where you're building a partnership with your customers. And that's something that we have to make sure that we are curating.
Well, at least, the when you were talking about that, as far as holding the value, at least they can feel comfortable when they sell the car, that they can sell it to someone they know and know that they've given them a good car. Because I don't know how many cars we see come in where somebody buys a used car and it's under-maintained. And that's what I was talking about, where the guy is like stretching to buy a BMW because he always wanted one. And then it's like, well, it's going to cost you a few $1,000s to put this thing right, because the guy before went, oh, that maintenance just costs too much. I don't want to take, I sometimes when I deal with people on that, it's like, man, come on, you've spent a ludicrous amount of money for this car. Well, $90,000 for a Kia, by the way. That one does blow me away.
That blows me away.
But you spent all this money for the car. Let's take care of it, because otherwise you're gonna. I mean, it blow. I mean, actually, probably one of the most striking ones. I remember, I have a Volkswagen Passat come in the shop that was only like 3 or 4 years old. I mean, this thing's like barely out of warranty, and it blew. And some guy bought this brand new for his daughter to drive to college, and I'm like, this thing is beat, man.
Oh no!
I'm going, this car. I mean, I got one here that's like probably 15 years old. It looks better than this one here. I'm like, how, so yeah, if you take care of stuff, it'll last.
I do think consumers are smarter now too, with well-maintained. I know when I know anybody in my life that buys a used vehicle, they'll say, they had all the records, they had all the services done, they gave a complete folder and all of that. Well, if you could believe it, we are at time. Yeah.
You kidding
me?
My
goodness.
Feel like we just started.
Right.
I know.
Well, there is one other thing I do want to add on that, right? And this is something that I just want to plant a seed here for any potential shop owners that are watching or listening. We're talking about well-maintained. We're talking about kind of you're building that partnership with your customer. I want you to chew on this. If you're able to build that partnership with your customer, you can obviously keep track of all the maintenance records and all of that. There is another source of revenue there, because Absolutely. Now you can also help them sell their vehicle, right? Absolutely. So there's a lot of shops that I'm seeing go into this model of consignment for sales and whatnot. You don't have to have you can look into dealership revenue and all of that as well. But in terms of vouching for that vehicle that's being well maintained, not only are you going to be able to stick with the vehicle now because the new customer, whoever buys that vehicle, now you've got another avenue for bringing on another customer as well. So just something to chew on.
I like that. I hadn't even thought about that consignment.
And it solves a lot of problems, because people are scared today to meet somebody offline. You have strangers that can be contacting you from anywhere. You don't know if they're legit. You don't know what, do you let them test drive? Do they come in? Right. I don't want a bunch of strangers coming to my house and going, taking a ride for, I don't want to go in a car test drive for somebody. So, well, David, what do you have in closing for anybody out there listening?
Well, I guess in closing, man, I just want to say that like ATI has been a blessing. The stuff that you guys preach, that somebody go, oh man, now you're drinking a Kool-Aid. It's stuff that works, I mean, it's in the depth. One of the things I love about ATI is the depth of coaching you guys have, all the different stuff, the different levels, wherever your level is at your shop. There's always something out there to make it even better. And so, yeah, thank you guys.
Well, thank you for that unsolicited. I'm just delighted there. So why doesn't everybody?
We're gonna send this to the marketing team.
Yeah, we'll just have to send it over to the marketing team. Well, everybody, thanks so much.
I wasn't trying to be a marketer for them. I'm just like, happy to be here. So
thank you so much for tuning in and enjoying us. And everybody stay safe and make good choices. And we'll be back again. Jason, I didn't ask you. Do you have anything?
I already said it.
I don't know how you follow up with that.
I don't.
You're planting seeds that you're going to chew on.
Right,
so
exactly.
You had two analogies today.
Right. Yeah. There we go.
So are they chewing on the seeds
they
after
are
they plant, or they? Oh, pumpkin,
sunflower seeds, whatever.
All right. Well, there you have it.
There we go.
There you have it. Chew your seeds. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, folks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You bet.